Backchat TV. Subscribe.
So they finally managed to get this fight done. Apparently, it's gonna go ahead. The big, huge welterweight clash between Terrance Bud Crawford, Erroll the True Spence. This is a massive welterweight fight, probably one of the biggest in history. Because if you think about it, it's on the same. I would put this fight on the same level as Hagler Hearns and Sugar Ray Leonard. You know, back in the days, I think you had that group of superstars, and then we had Floyd Mayweather era, you know, but now we've got the new generation, which I think is Errol Spence and Terrance Crawford, and then you could put Jerome Ennis in there as well, although he's kind of just coming up, but he's also in this generation. And I think they're the three best welterweights in the world. Terrance Crawford, Errol Spence. I don't know which one is first and second, by the way. You know, they're on the same, they're interchangeable. They could be, Errol Spence could be first, Terrance Crawford could be first. But I would put Jerome Ennis third. And it's not because of his talent. I think that he can probably beat any of these two on their day, but he just hasn't proven himself enough yet. He's quite new still. Hasn't proven himself enough to say that he's better than any one of the top two, which is definitely Terrance Crawford and Errol Spence. Nobody else is really beating these guys in the world at the moment, so I think they're fighting at the perfect time. People wanted this fight much earlier. As you know, everyone has been calling for this fight for a long time, but I actually think it's perfect timing because we had some great fights in between. We had Errol Spence versus Ugas. We had Kell Brook fighting both of them, losing to both of them. That was quite important to see how a top guy like Errol Spence could beat Kell Brook and Terrance Crawford, vice versa. Yeah, they both got great resumes. Errol Spence and Terrance Crawford resumes like on par with each other. So I think they're at the perfect time to fight each other, basically. So this is going to be kind of my breakdown. This is how I see the fight. So Errol Spence, let's start with him. He's kind of a pressure fighter. Yeah, he pressures guys. He pressures guys with his superior cardio. He pressures guys, corners guys with his work rate, with his constant punching, with his body punching. He slows you down if you're kind of moving a lot. He cuts off the ring better than anyone else that I've seen, and he kind of wears you down. And eventually, he kind of, as he's wearing you down with the punches, with the body punches, the constant body attacks and stuff like that, as he's wearing you down, he starts to turn up the power slowly. So he's more measured than people think. He actually measures what he's doing quite well. He's a very patient fighter as well. Keeps the pressure, keeps consistent pressure throughout the fight. And the first round can look like the last round with him pressurizing you with body shots, and he just keeps going. His defense is quite good. His defense is just as good as his offense, although he's known for his offense. His defense is good. His counter-punching is good. That's something that's not a lot of people talk about. He counter-punched, what's his name, Sean Porter, when he got the knockdown. You know, so he's all round. I would say he's just a solid fighter all round. You know, he's just a great fighter all round. He can do a lot of things, and it's very hard to beat him. He's a big guy as well for the weight, very strong. You know, so these are his attributes basically. Now I think that his attributes work against 99% of the fighters out there. Yeah, but Terrance Crawford being the 1%, where I'm not so sure if those attributes will work in the same way. And the reason why I say that is Terrance Crawford now, he has some attributes which I think will nullify Errol Spence's attributes. For example, Errol Spence is a very fit guy. Works hard, he's very fit. He's not going to get tired in a fight. But Terrance Crawford's not going to get tired in a fight either. Their fitness level is on par with each other. So there isn't going to be an issue where he wears him down because he starts to get tired. Another thing is, if Errol Spence can't kind of wear you out, he'll try and wear you out with punches to the body, to the head. Now, the more punches Errol Spence throws, he normally wears people down. But this is where it works against him. The more he throws against someone like Terrance Crawford, who is a counter puncher, the more he's likely to get hit. So Errol Spence's best attribute, which is throwing a lot of combination punches and moving forward and cornering, I think that works against him with Terrance Crawford, because Terrance Crawford is looking for you to do that. Because Terrance Crawford is more of an accurate puncher. He looks for the right punch rather than a volume of punches. He looks for the right angle to get that knockout to do the most damage, rather than a barrage of shots that's just going to wear your opponent down. So if Errol Spence fights the same way he fought everyone else, I think he comes unstuck with Terrance Crawford, if you see what I mean, or at least gets hit more than he would expect. So that game plan I don't think would work. So that's kind of an advantage for Terrance Crawford in that regard. I think they're both patient. Some people say Terrance Crawford tends to get hit more than Errol Spence, but I think they both get hit every now and then. But when they get hit, I think it's kind of deliberate. Like, I don't mean no one gets deliberately hit, but one thing I see with these guys is they're measuring their opponents. As they see their opponents breaking down, they tend to not be so bothered about getting hit. They tend to deflect punches rather than actually blocking punches, because the power's gone. The threat is gone now. Once they start, if you watch Errol Spence, once he starts to break down his opponent and take their best punches and they start to wear down, he doesn't stay defensive like he did before in the first rounds and the second rounds, because the power's gone. And that's the reason why I think sometimes they get hit every now and then. I don't think it's because of like a lack of being a professional or anything like that. So I wouldn't think that's something to worry about. None of them really get hit that much. I've seen both of them get hit. Spence got hit against in the Ugas fight quite a lot. He got hit quite a lot in the Kell Brook fight. So I think if any of them have more miles on the clock, let's say, I would say it's Errol Spence. In the ring, he's been hit a bit more than Terrance Crawford, and outside of the ring, which is the important thing, the eye injury, which was no small injury, and we all know how eye injuries can suddenly come back in a fight if you get hit in the right place. It happened to Kell Brook. Errol Spence now has that eye injury. That is going to take miles off your clock no matter what. No matter how good he looked in his last fight, it's still an injury that can come back.